Hi everyone. This is going to be a different type of video, and I'm going to just explain to you guys what type of video it's going to be. So, I have been editing Alia, the Little Stone Singer, and the editing is coming along well. All of the writing is done, or like 99% done at this point. Um, and I'm going through the game, just polishing up the editing and placing little placeholder images where the pictures should be, and making songs start and stop where they should start and stop. And while doing this, this also allows me to make a checklist of like the images that I feel that I need, just reading through the story and assembling it and stuff like that. And at the same time, I just found a very useful text to speech tool, which allows you to take like a whole bunch of text and put in this thing, and then it'll just allow you to export a simple audio file of the text being spoken aloud by one of the default voices that you have on your computer. And for those of you who are interested, this software is called Balabolka, which I think they say is Russian for chatterer. And it's just a very simple, useful tool. I don't know much about it. I just started using it, but I really appreciate it. For to be honest, this just seems like it utilizes the voices that your computer just comes with. So frankly, I don't see why this sort of software isn't just included with the computer by default. Someone needed to go out of their way to make their own software. But whatever, that's beside the point. The point is, it's very useful. So what this video is a half an hour worth of talking through the Balabolka thing, and I have like really basic assembly done. No pictures, just like text saying what the pictures are going to be, audio starting and stopping, but starting and stopping like abruptly. And this is just helping me to, like, even though this is sort of strange, it helps me with the assembly process. Something worth noting is that while I do appreciate the Balabolka software, and I do appreciate the default voices that the computer comes with, the voices do sound a little bit, overly robotic. It's Microsoft Zero, the one that I used, which is it's I think it's been around for like over a decade or something at this point. It's a bit rough sounding. Um, but another thing is that it doesn't really do ellipses, and I used quite a few ellipses. So it would just like, uh, how do I put it? It just doesn't do natural pauses. Uh, really, it does some, but not as many. So I sort of needed to go in there and be like, okay, this is the end of a scene. Wait for a second before another scene starts. And as for the ellipses not getting really recognized, that's okay. Also, sometimes it says AND instead of and stuff like that. But yeah, so that's what this video is. I thought I might as well share it with you guys. I don't want to talk too long because the video is already going to be long. Um, but yeah, I just thought it could be like it's like I was just doing this because it's useful for me with the assembly process. And I figured, hey, I mean, this is already a video anyway. Like, I'm doing it in a video editing program. I might as well just share it with you guys if you guys are interested. Maybe it could teach you a little bit about like a visual novel developing process or something like that. So that's what this is. Please enjoy, you guys. And when all of the artwork is done for this preview section, I'll probably just upload that as a video on its own, like a full version without the voice. And yeah, so that's it. Please enjoy this sort of strange video.
Someone's moving in, apparently. Really? I can't remember the last time anyone actually moved here. People usually just stay here after growing up. Like, because this is their childhood home. Say, Alia, were you born here? I instinctively shake my head, even though I know she can't see it. No, I don't think so. What I mean is, I don't remember what happened when I was really little. I remember living here since I was 7, but I might have been born somewhere else, and Dad might have moved here with me, when I was really small. I see. Were you? I was born here. Silence falls on the line, for a moment. Come to think of it, did you ever go to school, here? Again, I shake my head. No, I was homeschooled. That makes sense, I'd hate for you to get bullied. Yet. Are you sure someone's moving here and not moving away? Yet. That's a good question, but there are only so many people living here, and no one said anything about anyone leaving. Oh, I see. That makes sense. Hey, Mary. About yesterday. No. Please don't apologize. But I see what you mean, and I don't mean any harshness toward them, but it's my store and my friend can visit me when she wants to. If that bothers some would-be customers, then so be it. I feel moved by her words, and put my hand to my heart. Mary. Hey, it's okay. After a moment, she lets out a little sigh. I've got to tell you, I'm not the fondest of this town. Yet? Well, I have a bit of a soft spot for it, but it's just so small. Putting aside some people's attitudes, the fact that one new person moving here constitutes a hot piece of news is kind of sad. I let out a giggle and I can tell it lightens her mood. Exactly. What business is it of ours if someone new shows up? It's not that big of a deal. And yet, here I am talking to you about it. Ugh, I'm part of the problem. I twirl the cable of the old, rotary phone. It's okay to get excited. Yeah, you're right, of course. Besides, this place isn't so bad. I like how quiet it is. Yeah. I like how quiet it is, too. I think I'm just a little stir-crazy, right now. I can't be too harsh on these people, I remember how I treated you. I smile, softly. And now we're friends. Exactly. So. I really don't want to judge, you know? I mean, if I can change, anyone can. For another moment, silence hangs on the line. Do you think the newcomer's a boy? I'm sick of being single. I let out another giggle. Mary. Ha ha ha. The heavy mist continues to surround us. Why we're out here in the first place, I'm not sure, and it doesn't matter to my young mind. All that really matters to me is that I'm out with my parents. We were looking for a particular place, Dad was, I mean. But, eventually, while exploring roads we'd never gone down before, this dangerous fog surrounded the car. For a while, we crept along at a slow pace. Then, we pulled over to the side of the road to wait it out. However, the mist continued to surround us. 4 hours. Now, it's finally starting to thin, and Dad is carefully navigating the roads, once more, at a snail's pace. The sun's setting now, however, and him arriving at his original destination, today, is clearly out of the question. At this point, we'll just settle for directions to the nearest hotel, to spend the night. With the fog completely gone, now, and the sun setting fast, we find ourselves in a little village. It's very small, however, and none of the lights are on. There isn't any place to sleep in sight. Dad stops for a while and looks at our paper map. None of us caught the name of the town, however, and after a few moments of trying to figure out our location, he folds the map back up and starts slowly driving back down the road, in the direction we came. That's when, off to the side of the road, we make out a figure. A young woman, significantly older than me but younger than my parents, waving to us in the darkening light. With the thought to ask her for help, Dad pulls up beside her and rolls the window down. "Are you okay? You seem lost." My dad explains the situation to her, and she smiles with some sadness. "Oh. The fog, hey? Say. I live really close by and my house is quite large. This place doesn't have an inn, would you like to stay the night?" We consider this for a moment, with my dad scrutinizing her. However, she puts us at ease with a smile. "It wouldn't be any trouble. Fog is common here and, as a resident, I feel obligated to help. I don't have much furniture, though." We eventually agree, accepting her hospitality. "There are 4 stories and a basement, you can sleep wherever you like, but I don't have much furniture. I only have 1 guest bed, here on the 1st floor, and 2 couches. But that might be just enough. The furniture's damp from the fog, though, since I left a few windows open, but there are some dry sheets you can use." "Sorry about that." My parents assure her it's okay and thank her again for her hospitality. When they do, she smiles to them, amiably. Then, she gives me a little smile, as well. For some reason, this makes an impression on me. Her eyes. I know she's just a normal lady, but, for some reason, I stare into those eyes. Maybe she's looking at me so kindly because I'm a kid. Maybe it means a lot to her, to be able to help someone so much younger than herself. I can understand that. If I were helping someone my age, it wouldn't feel the same as helping a baby. Maybe that's how she feels. She only looks at me for a moment, with that gentle smile and those eyes which are really beautiful, to me. "Well, make yourselves at home." Before I know it, she looks away and things resume, as usual. I feel a little sad about it. I wouldn't have minded looking into her eyes, for a little longer. With the dust settling, I can't help but feel strange as I sit alone in my new dining room. Of course, this house isn't exactly alien, nor is it new. It couldn't even be called new to me, but even though I have nostalgia for this place, having visited it once as a child, it's very different to suddenly own it. I went through the entire process of buying it and hiring movers to help me move in, so I feel a little silly for feeling this way. It's only natural that going through the process of moving here would result in me living here, but perhaps it's also natural that time would be needed for the situation to sink in. After all, up until this point, I was only acting, putting one foot in front of the other. Now, I'm left in the quiet reality of the situation, with the movers having left about 15 minutes ago. That last sound of them closing the door seems to linger, in the empty house. As I said, this place is nostalgic to me. That's why I decided to move here, at all. I'd only visited this place once, before, when I was a kid, but even so, the memory of this place is important to me. It's vivid, and hasn't faded. Idly, I look out the kitchen window, into the yard. It's a very rustic yard, the entire place is rustic. The yard is simply a clearing in the woods. Yet, even though I like this place, it'll take some time for me to adjust to it. That's fine with me. Though, since I've lived in the city all my life, this adjustment period might take a little longer than I think it will. Then again, it might take less time than I think. This area and lifestyle are quite simple. So, in a sense, there's not much to get used to. But, to think, tonight I'll be able to sleep with my bedroom window open. listening to the quietness of the countryside. No sounds of street crossings chirping, no echoing traffic, no people loudly talking after too many drinks. Out here, I suppose I'll just hear the sound of wind rustling through the trees and the sound of crickets chirping. Perhaps I'll also hear the occasional passenger train passing by, as I do live a walk away from a small train platform. I don't assume the train comes very frequently, though. Regardless, any sounds of vehicles will be muted by the thick forest of trees. Before I came here, it was like I was living on the surface of a concrete ocean. But now, things are more lush and more simple. So much more greenery and so much less concrete. At the thought, I let out a content sigh. To live surrounded by greenery, and here, of all places. Come to think of it, if I want to sleep with my window open, I'll probably need to set my bedroom up on the second, third, or fourth floor. Otherwise, bears could enter through the open window. I didn't think of that when I was directing the movers. As is probably obvious, this house is far too big for one person. It has 4 floors and a basement. As such, there's a lot of extra space, and even the basement and first floor, which are currently the only floors with my belongings in them, don't feel quite filled out. But that thought makes me smile. This place was quite empty back then, too. Even when she lived here. Well, I suppose I'll move my mattress up to the second floor, before bed. Shouldn't be that hard. Maybe that'll help me feel like I actually live here. As I rest in bed at night, I can't help but feel like I've missed the point. Like I'm grasping at a dream, at a memory. As pleasant as the quiet countryside is on its own, what made me actually want to move here, were the memories I had of that night and of the following morning. The memories of the 2 girls I met and the events that transpired here, all those years ago. The only time I ever visited this place, before moving here, was right after my parents and I spent all day lost in that strange, thick fog. We were creeping along at a snail's pace, trying to figure out where we were. We pulled over to the side of the road and waited for the fog to pass, but, by the time the fog started to lift, the sun was setting. And, after a while of wandering the quiet, gravel, country roads in the darkening light, we came across a young woman at the side of the road. We looked very lost, and she offered to let us spend the night here, at her house, since it was getting late and the little village didn't have an inn. She assured us that it wouldn't be any trouble and that she had plenty of space. So, we accepted and stayed the night with her. In this house. The next morning, a young girl, around my age, arrived with her father. I remember 2 main things about the girl. Actually, 3. Firstly, she was cute. Secondly, she looked very sad, as though a tragedy had just taken place in her personal life, earlier that morning. And, thirdly, I remember that she had a beautiful singing voice, as I heard her and her father singing, in the basement. I have no idea why she looked so sad, but the memories I have of this place, the things that made it special, to me, are in the distant past. Thinking about it, now, it doesn't quite feel right to have moved here for the sake of those old memories. It's been 18 years, now, or maybe even longer. 20? 22? I don't remember. And the fact that this house was for sale, at all, probably means the young woman who took us in doesn't live in this area, anymore. After all, why would she move to another house in this little area, when everything was already within walking distance for her, and she already had such a large house? And the girl around my age, who I saw in the morning, probably also doesn't live here, anymore. 18+ years is a long time, and this village is really small. A lot of young people leave little villages like these for the city, as time goes on. With all that in mind, I can't help but feel like me moving here was a little misguided. Nonetheless, I hope good will come of this. I pray good will come of this. Through the second-story window, I can hear the beautiful, peaceful sounds of nature. The crickets chirp and a breeze flows into the room, filling me with a natural freshness. I let out a small sigh as I nestle into my sheets and cuddle my familiar pillow. Well, this seems like a nice place, regardless of anything else. Lovely, peaceful, and quiet. I worry about so many things. Even if this place simply turns out to be a new, quiet, lovely home, away from the city. Maybe that's enough. I've got to let things go. Sure is nice. As I listen to the gentle sounds of nature, I'm lulled to sleep without realizing it. After eating breakfast, I look out the window to the rainy clouds above. Looks like rain. I heard this place gets a lot of mist and rain. Maybe it has something to do with it being so close to the ocean? I'm not sure. Well, maybe I'll get an umbrella or raincoat today. It's not exactly a relaxing stroll into town, as I keep looking at the iffy clouds that could break at any moment. My house is sort of in the village, but not exactly. Basically, I live on a country road and need to walk a ways to the left, before being able to enter the village proper, by turning right. Which is fine by me. I appreciate the privacy and the walk isn't an overly long one. When I get into town, which is really quite small, I look for a shop. I brought a little food with me when I moved, but it's not like I brought a lot. So, I might want to pick up some groceries in addition to that umbrella, while I'm out. Or, that's what I would say, if it wasn't about to rain. I probably shouldn't even be outside, today, and I'd hate to get caught in the rain while hauling heavy grocery bags home. But, since I am outside, I'll try to make the outing quick. I'll just get myself something waterproof. I scan the storefronts and houses. I spot the grocery easily enough, but that's not what I'm looking for. Ah! There's a quaint, little clothing store, by the grocery. That should do. I close the distance and open the door, but, as I do, a girl bumps into me as she hurriedly tries to leave. Ah, sorry. Ah, no, I'm sorry. She looks into my face. And, for a moment, we're both still and quiet, in the doorway. She looks at me, as though trying to place me. And, as she thinks to herself that she may know me, I realize I might know her, too. Do I? Wait. Alia? Her eyes widen and she looks at me, stunned, before smiling brightly. It's definitely her, the young girl I met out here all those years ago, when I was little. I never expected to see her again. That said, to see her again, it fills my heart. Even though we didn't know each other for long, I'm glad to have someone here who I can think of as a friend, even if that might be a little bit of a stretch. That said, even if the term friend might technically be a stretch in this situation, I am happy to see her, and it's obvious, from the way she beamed at me, that she's also happy to see me. So, regardless of the technicalities, I'm fine with thinking of her as a friend. I expect to simply buy an umbrella and leave the store, with her. However, to my surprise, she starts talking enthusiastically to the girl behind the counter, about me. The girl doesn't seem to mind at all, and Alia introduces me to her. This is Mary. The girl behind the counter smiles to me and waves. Hi there, it's nice to meet you. Ah, likewise. I'm Elm. She smiles. Oh? Elm. My name seems to strike her, in some way, and, for a moment, she seems lost in thought. After a time, however, she comes back to herself. That's a nice name. Sorry, you having the name of a tree reminded me of someone. Oh, it's okay. Alia beams to her and, the way she does, it's easy to tell that the two of them are friends. That beaming smile is so much nicer than the sad face she had, when we first met. I'm so glad she has a friend who makes her happy. Ah, I guess, now, she might have at least two. After chatting a bit with Emary and buying an umbrella, I exit the shop as Alia happily walks with me. How are you? It's been so long. You're so tall. Boys so often grow taller than girls, but the last time I saw you, we were the same size. Ha ha ha, that's right, I remember. She looks at me and is quietly happy, as the two of us walk down the road. I answer her question, telling her that I'm doing well and just moved in. Oh. You're living here? That's great. In Nola's old house? It's been for sale for quite some time. I smile. Yeah. It was remarkably cheap, to be honest. I'm glad it was so cheap. I didn't think I'd be able to afford such a nice, big house, even if it was out in the middle of the country. She smiles. Though, it seems a small shadow hangs over her, as she does. Well, I'm glad. I nod, and the two of us continue on. We reach the crossroads, where the village meets the country road. I'd love to walk you home, but I should probably get home to beat the rain. I smile a little. Hey, I just got an umbrella, do you want me to walk you home, instead? She's shocked at the idea. Then, she thinks a little. Are you sure? It can rain pretty hard, around here. I don't want you to get trapped by a storm. I fold my arms a little, in thought. Well, I have nothing else going on. Even if I do get trapped at your place until the storm passes, I wouldn't mind. As long as you wouldn't take issue with that, of course. It's nice to see her, again, and I'd love to keep spending time with her. It would be a shame to cut our visit short. At my words, she once again lights up. Then, after a moment, she looks away in a rather timid way. You wouldn't mind getting trapped with me? It might storm for a really long time. Nah, I don't mind. She keeps looking away, quietly and happily. Then, she nods and slowly turns to the right, walking in the direction of her house. I follow her, and, as we quietly walk together, the clouds finally break. As soon as it starts to rain, I unfold my umbrella and put the waterproof cloth over our heads. Good thing I got this. She nods, quietly and happily. The rain pitter-patters against the umbrella quietly, at first, but it's not long before it starts coming down harder and harder. As it does, it's easy to see what she means about this rainfall becoming a storm. I suppose I will be trapped at her place for a while. After all, an umbrella can only do so much against a storm. Not that being stuck with her is at all unappealing. As the wind and rain pick up, they threaten to break my umbrella. But, that said, even if an umbrella isn't sufficient protection against a rainstorm, I'm still glad I got it. If I didn't, I might not be walking her home, right now. Naturally, we start to run as the storm gets stronger. Thankfully, by the time we get to her property, which has a beautiful view overlooking the ocean from atop a cliff, the two of us are only very damp, rather than completely soaked. After we hasten inside, we catch our breath by the door, thankful to be somewhere dry. Ha, ha, ha. She turns to me for a moment before looking away, flushed with her emotions and exertions. Thanks for coming over. I nod quickly, in response. Why yet? Of course. Ha. Once again, she smiles in quiet happiness. After a few moments, she speaks up. Hey. Not to be too forward, but I've never had a boy over at my house, before. The fact that I have one over, now. And the fact that he's you, of all people. Well, it means something to me. Thank you, Elm. Her words make me blush. Oh. Why yet? Sure, Alia. No problem. She looks at me and gives me a bashful smile, before taking my umbrella and hanging it up on the door hook. I notice that she hangs it between an old oil lantern and a coat which looks water resistant. Good. I'm glad she has something water resistant, living here. She probably just didn't wear it today because it was too warm. That's another point to umbrellas, I suppose. Not only can you share one with someone, but they also don't cause you to overheat. In fact, you can use them to block out the sun, too, helping you stay cool. They have a few advantages, they just aren't good against heavy rain. As the rain beats down harder and harder and our damp clothes continue to dry with our body heat, Alia asks if I'd like anything to eat. I make pumpkin soup, she says. It's really easy to grow pumpkins, and my dad taught me how to make soup out of them. Mine isn't quite the same as his, but I think it's good. Oh. That raises a perfectly valid question. Is your dad here, Alia? I remember I met him, back then. She smiles a little, and shakes her head. No. He moved away a few years ago, to an island that's important to him. He said when girls and boys become young women and young men, after a while, the parents are in the way. I don't want to scare any boys away, and I've taught you well enough to be on your guard against boys who are trouble. That's how he thought of it. I blush a little, at that explanation. Well, I guess I see his point, but... She laughs. I know, he's like that. We're still close and he visits me, now and then, and we talk together on the phone, now and then, but he doesn't live here, anymore. It's okay, though. And I understand where he's coming from. I smile a little bit. Yeah, me too. I hope you taught your daughter well, sir. I'd hate for someone to hurt her, while you're away. That said, I'm glad she's on good terms with her dad and that they spend time with each other, from time to time. Now I know why she's a little shy about having a boy in her house. The image of her terribly sad face from all those years ago flashes through my mind. She was so sad, back then, that I half expected something bad to have happened between her and her dad. But I'm glad that's not the case. You say he went to an island? Which island did he go to? She gives me a little smile. Antorthis. Do you know it? I think for a long moment, and it makes her giggle. No, I can't say I do. She nods. Our ancestors were there, at one point. I think he wanted to go there because he found it fascinating to, She looks to me with a somewhat guilty smile. Study, their work? I see. I hate seeing her look guilty, even for a moment. At the sight, I have the urge to pat her head. But we just met, so, naturally that might be a bit too much. Well, I suppose it wouldn't hurt to ask. Hey, Alia. Do you mind if I pat your head? I don't have to, of course, but... I fall quiet. She flushes up a little bit and goes quiet, as well, looking away. Then, she quietly nods. I can't help but be struck in the heart. I nod in return. Okay then. I slowly raise my hand, place it on her head, and pat her softly. And, as I do, she closes her eyes and lets out a sigh, feeling my hand against her. I can't help but smile a little. That's better. Of course, I take her up on her offer for pumpkin soup. I've never had it before, and the idea of it interests me. Especially if she's the one making it. As far as I understand, a lot of pumpkins are rather mild in flavor, right? So, if that's the case, maybe a cook can largely make the soup taste however they want, by adding other ingredients and flavorings. I may well be wrong about that, though. Also, I've heard that pumpkins used to be a staple food, in the past. So, it's actually rather traditional of her to use them in her cooking. Now that I think of it, though, I've never actually eaten a pumpkin, myself. Which, is a little silly. After all, they sell a lot of pumpkins around Halloween, so it's a little strange that I've only ever carved them and eaten their seeds, without actually eating one. Though I have had pumpkin pie before, of course. Well, regardless, I'm looking forward to the experience. When I let her know, she nods happily and gets to work. And by that I mean, she actually grabs a pair of hedge clippers and runs into the backyard, in the pouring rain. A few moments later, she comes back inside with a well-grown, fresh off the vine pumpkin. I'm so startled. I thought she'd just use some pumpkin slices she had, in the fridge. To think she'd soak herself. She sets the pumpkin on the coffee table and sets the hedge clippers aside. Then, she gets a dishcloth from the kitchen and starts wiping it down. After a moment, I come to my senses. I. I'll get you a towel to dry yourself off, with. She blushes a little bit and nods. Okay, thank you. There's a towel in the bathroom. It's just upstairs, the first door on your right. I blush, nod, and run upstairs to get it.